Okay, so I've recorded this type of video a few times before, and every time I end up not sending it because I think it'll be boring and unhelpful. And this time, I think I'm just gonna keep the camera going. And if it's boring and you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. But I just wanted to videotape myself practicing and let you see what it looks like when I practice. So I have approximately 45 minutes. I probably won't take that whole 45. Before Game of Thrones, so I really want to pass the time. It's always a good time to practice is when you want to pass the time. And I specifically was having some problems with what I've been talking to you about, with my hand feeling a little stiff and like I can't quite pull through the strings. So I thought it would be worthwhile for you to see what I would do to make that stop while I'm playing, to get my hand moving a little more nimbly. The one thing that I'm aware of, so just sort of giving you an idea, sorry, it's hard to put my face where the camera can see, sorry. Just to give you an idea of where my headspace is when I start, besides just checking out what my timing is and stuff like that. I have my phone handy so I can record myself. As always, I'm always recording myself, which has already been a big deal with recording, that I think I'm the least surprised at how I sound on all the playbacks. So I'm pretty quick to want to move on and to make a couple quick edits and keep going because I'm not surprised by how I sound. I think it's a huge asset as a musician. To it doesn't make you perfect, it just makes you self-aware. So when you hear yourself recorded, it's not a shock that you sound the way you do. You're never going to feel like it's perfect, but you might at least feel like it's okay, you know? Um, or it's not a surprise. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I record myself. It keeps me honest about what I'm working on, make sure I'm working on the right stuff. So sometimes what you feel isn't good isn't what's coming across in the recording, and what most matters is what you hear. So feelings can really impact the sound. And then the other thing that I'm just hyper aware of is that my shoulder is really sore today, and so I don't want to push too far. So how much I'll keep going or what sorts of things I choose to do might be dictated by how my shoulder feels, and I'll check in on that periodically and talk about it. So I'm just going to talk about all the things that I think. I'll try to say them out loud. So I'm going to start with this set, and the only way I'm picking what set I need to do, of course I have a list of things that I'm recording, so I think there's 4 things on my horizon for the harp. There's a set of reels, which I'm about to do right now, 2 sets of jigs, a hornpipe, and the Fairy Queen, so that's actually 5 things, I lied. And what I like to do is go after the thing usually that sounds the worst, right? So triage, make sure you're going after the thing that's giving you the most headache. But also, I like to go after the technique that is giving me the most headache. So I might have a set that's okay. It might not be the hardest thing that I'm recording, but if I've got some sort of technical issue that's giving me a lot of frustration, then I might go for that piece to work on that technical issue. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is this is a set of tunes that I've previously had really well polished, and now it's feeling pretty rusty. I was playing it earlier today and my fingers weren't really zipping through the strings the way I want them to. So I've got some other sets that just feel better, probably because they're a little bit slower. And then I have one tune that is a good bit harder, but my hope is if I can kind of settle into some of this technique work, like I said in your previous lesson, it's about the percentage of time that I spend with a good technique. If I can spend some good time with it, it might just help that other tune before I even get to it, to work on it. So the first thing I like to do, of course, is to get my recorder going. And I'm going to record myself just playing the first tune so that I can be really honest about how it sounds. I'm not going to go for the whole set yet because I want to be careful about my shoulder. So I'm not going to go after big, long chunks of playing. This is probably going to be terrible because I'm just out of the shower. I'm not warmed up, so I'm including some of my warm-up stuff, which probably should involve scales and rolls, and it probably will in a moment. So of course I want to listen to it. And it takes a little time, but it's nice because it gives you some breaks. So you just listen and see if it really sounds like you thought it did. So I'm hearing a lot of string noise, which I don't love, but it's to be expected when I'm not warmed up. So I'm thinking about this string noise. It's usually a manifestation of that discomfort I'm talking about. I always like my chords better listening back than I like them while I'm playing. When I'm playing, it all feels basic and obvious. Listen back, it sounds fine. Girls. Alright. Okay. Trash. You don't have to keep it once you listen to it. Throw it away. Okay, so. When I put my hand out of view, I'm putting it down, and I'm just doing some of this. But I let my hand fall down to do it so that I can get the relaxation from my ear through my neck and down. I liked that. Doesn't mean I'm ready to go on. So a big part of my issue here is that my fourth finger is not getting close enough to the strings. When my fourth finger is close, the roll happens and the placement happens. That bit there is hard. So I'm getting the whole shapes here, okay? I realize you can't really see much, can you? Bring it down. So I'm starting here because this is a shape. There's no lower notes there. And what's giving me trouble is the roll. So I need to get my third finger there for the roll. But if it's there, it's okay. This shape is giving me some trouble. And I think it's the balance of the cross under. It's not an ideal fingering. You know, I'm crossing under on a skip. I don't have time to fix that before I record. But what I can fix is balancing better, twisting my hand back. So if my hand is still balanced this way, I'm not going to be able to get to this string. So I have to think about getting that balance back. It's better. And to me, I'm thinking about sort of using my pointer finger as a pivot and getting my thumb all the way up to the D. That gets my hand in the right place. happened there was as I got comfortable, instead of moving on, I made sure it was comfortable a couple times and then I looked away. And when I looked away, things got a little wobbly again, but I didn't let myself look back to fix it. I made myself stay looking away, which you can't tell because my camera's like choked way up on me. I can't move it back anymore. But that way I have to kind of figure it out with my hands. And not looking is making me forget about that balance. So I need to remember beforehand. Balance. Balance. Alright, now I'm going to record myself and see if that sounds the way I think it sounds. So mostly what I'm listening for is if it's as steady as I think it is, if any notes are kind of jarringly standing out from any other notes that I don't think are. So that would be like if my finger's getting kind of jammed in a string, I'm pulling it harder than I think it is. And then I'm listening for extraneous string noise. Sorry. So like, you know, are the backs of my fingers hitting other strings as they vibrate? Oh no, my screen went black. Okay. Okay, so because I think I know what I didn't like, I'm going to do it again and see if I can't fix those things before I even listen to the recording. Okay, now I'm going to listen. Okay, so because I think I know what I hearing my own voice. I'm going to do it again and see if I can't fix those things before I even listen to the recording. Okay, trash. So I'm making progress, and that's really what matters. It means that the approach that I'm going after is working, but it's not perfect, and I'm not ready to move on. So the real moral of this video is probably that you're going to see me go after this one tiny little place for like the whole time because while it's tempting to go after a whole bunch of stuff, if you can really zero in on one little thing and get it not just sounding good, but get into your head about what sorts of things are making it work. So the stuff I was talking about getting my hand better balanced and recovering from the roll so that my thumb was kind of ready to go and my hand was in a better position to keep playing after the roll. And then there's one place where I'm having trouble reaching a note. So I'm going to work on making sure that I don't just know where that note is, but where the note below and the note above is. These are all separate from the tune, just techniques that are good to work on that will help all my other tunes. So it's better to make this A part sound really comfortable and really good than to do an okay job on this part and an okay job on the next part and an okay job on the next tune and kind of gloss over things. It's better to be thorough. So I'm going to keep being thorough. So I'm going to start from down here so that my hand position is all the way down. Sorry, I have to be quiet. I thought I heard the baby. I don't. So now I think it's all right. So now I'm going to count my, I know I make you guys do 10 or 5 times in a row correctly. I usually make myself do 10. So I'm going to do my 10 times in a row correctly. Never good at the beginning. Okay, let's see how that sounds in the tune. Much better. Now this part, I want to make sure that I'm really confident about that space. So I want to feel how it feels to go too far so that going just the right amount, I know how far I can stretch without being too far. Because when we don't go far enough, it's always because we're afraid of going too far. So I like to know, like, what's too far. And then I practice what's relaxed, which is actually correct. So it's sort of one of those moments where you say, okay, just trust yourself. If you second guess, it won't be far enough. Just trust yourself. I think that's a lot of progress. I feel good about that. Let's do it again. work on that variation. Alright, let's make sure I actually like those chords. Kind of like how they sound, but they shouldn't work. I don't like that as much. Maybe that. That's it. I like that better. Okay. Alright. I don't have loads of time, but I have some time, so I'm going to work on the next tune. This octave is really getting to me. I can kind of feel it in my shoulder, which is weird. So it's okay, but notice there's some of that I'm talking about where some notes like really stand out. Hand down, arm down, stretch, relax. Making sure that I'm taking some good deep breaths. That's better. A lot of what I'm thinking about here is the shapes and the placing. Just getting my fingers glued on all together. left hand. I'm just imagining it because I don't want to bring my hand down just to play it. I was shaking my head because when I came up, I placed like one finger at a time. It's not good. It's all about the placement. So if my fingers are on the strings, I can pull through them. If my fingers aren't securely on the strings, when I pull, nothing happens. Oops. I need to be careful there because I do a left-hand note. So you have to be careful not to practice a finger and you're not going to do. Okay, so I think that that's a bit of proof that, sorry, went the wrong way, that if you really focus hard on the nitty gritty details early on, it can really follow through to the rest of the tune. So earlier today, all of it was sounding pretty rough. But in practice, I only really had to focus really, really hard on bits of the A part of the first tune, and that work started to sort of spread through the rest of the set. So there's still work to be done, and when I sit down tomorrow, it'll sound kind of rusty again. But now I know, first of all, that it takes me about 30 minutes to get to this point with the tunes. So it's worth knowing that before I go to record, that I might want to take 30 minutes here at home and then hop in the car and then maybe like another 10 or 15 there to warm up and feel okay playing. Um, and I know exactly what type of work to do to make myself feel more comfortable. So the last thing I'm going to do here before I turn in is I'm going to record the whole set just to make sure that it sounds the way I think it does. That doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not looking right now to see if it sounds perfect so I get to stop playing. I'm looking to see if it sounds better than it did and if it sounds the way I expect it sounds so that I can make sure that my planning for the week isn't off base somehow.